NBA where Kyrie Irving's season is now over. Okay? The Mavs are 4-8 this season without Kyrie in the lineup, and that will be the rest of the way. They tore his ACL in that left knee in last night's loss. Take a look at it here. Huge blow to the Mavs, who already are missing Anthony Davis.
I genuinely feel so bad for Dallas Mavericks fans. I mean, to go from a team that was contending for an NBA championship, a team that was trying to add pieces around their core of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, all the way to a team that shipped away Luka Doncic and now lost Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season and then some. I just have a lot of empathy for you guys, man. It just got way worse. The Adelson family are also giving us an indication that they're trying to potentially move the team to Las Vegas, and we have a lot to cover in this video. So before we get to the content, our first baseball video is going to go up on Uni Diamond Talk this week. We're giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on that channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Man, what a disaster for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, less than a year after Luka Doncic was doing stuff like this, going through the gauntlet that was the Western Conference Finals to lead the Dallas Mavericks to an unlikely NBA Finals appearance, where they surely seemed to be a piece or two away from potentially beating the Boston Celtics. They were clearly overmatched in that matchup. The Dallas Mavericks decided to go all in that offseason. I mean, Klay Thompson chose the Dallas Mavericks over the Los Angeles Lakers. Spencer Dinwiddie left the Los Angeles Lakers to join the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks were perceived as the #1 contender in the Western Conference. Luka Doncic hasn't even hit his prime yet. He was supposed to take the next step this year and lead the Dallas Mavericks to glory, until the Mavericks decided to trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for Max Christie, Anthony Davis, and a future 2029 first-round pick. I'm not saying Anthony Davis is a bad player. I personally have tremendous gratitude for Anthony Davis's role in bringing a championship to Los Angeles, but when you're a general manager of a franchise and you don't control your 2027 to 2030 first round picks, when the opposing GM that you're negotiating a trade with is trying to keep this trade a secret so other teams can't hit you up and pay you the 8 future first round picks that you deserve, then clearly you're going to be perceived as an idiot. I mean, you guys seen this press conference with Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd is just speechless. It's awkward. He doesn't know what to say, and I can't really blame him. You're going from coaching one of the future stars in the NBA to coaching Kyrie Irving, who's awesome, but Anthony Davis, who's only been active for 3/4 of a game so far. Although it was an awesome 3/4 of a game, I'll admit.
Anthony Davis has been out since his opener, since the first game he played. That's the last time that one game was the last time we've seen Anthony Davis this season.
And since then, you would think the Dallas Mavericks, who are a large market, who are a huge organization, who have been very successful over the last 2 decades building their brand, you'd think they'd know how to do damage control over this incredibly stupid situation. I mean, fans are upset. Fans are getting kicked out of games for screaming fire Nico, and frankly, Nico Harrison should get fired. There's no question about it. There's 8-year-olds in 2K My GM that know how to make better trades than this. And the most pathetic part about this is the damage control the Mavericks have tried to do ever since this trade. I mean, you guys remember the very first thing they said is they had an issue with Luka Doncic's conditioning, which doesn't make a lot of sense when you take a look at his playoff splits from last year. I mean, in the 2023 to 24 playoffs, when he led the Dallas Mavericks to an NBA Finals appearance, while he was getting injections in his foot to play, he was averaging 29 points per game to go with 8 assists while shooting 45% from the field, which is one thing, but dude, he was playing 41 minutes per game during the 2024 playoffs. And it's just so disrespectful to Dallas Mavericks fans to think that they're this dumb, because it doesn't matter if you're 270 pounds, which Luka Doncic is currently listed as 230 pounds. It doesn't matter that he likes to have a beer after he celebrates a game, because he's not necessarily known for his athleticism. The fact that you gave up the biggest star in the NBA, or one of the biggest stars in the NBA, for peanuts on the dollar will always make you perceived as a cellar-dwelling franchise. And it would just get way worse. I mean, all of these things would make me stop becoming a fan of the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki was at at Luka Doncic's first game, which was kind of an indicator of how he felt about this trade. The Dallas Mavericks president, Patrick Dumont, said that Luka didn't have the work ethic that Hall of Famers like Shaq did. He also mentioned Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, who, don't get me wrong, Michael Jordan had a competition problem.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No, I enjoy it. It's a hobby.
We've been on an amazing streak on Prize Picks, making $400 off of our last 3 picks, which proves that my data analysis model works. Sign up for Prize Picks using my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5, and follow my Instagram at TheFlightMike to see my plays. I also give away additional plays on patreon.com/microphone, and thank you Prize Picks for the sponsor. And Larry Bird did get into that one bar fight during the 1987 NBA Finals, which fine, that was just a one-off instance, but Shaq? I mean, Shaq is one of my favorite players, but bringing up Shaq, a player that was notorious for being too lazy to work on his free throws, a player that has even admitted himself that if he worked a little harder, then he probably would have had more championships, a player that would come in out of shape and eat Big Macs next to Kobe Bryant and drive the late great Kobe Bryant insane. I mean, it's just wild to even bring that up. Since then, things will get even worse. The Mavericks would apparently black out former players from a hype video that they made, which at first people thought this was Luka Doncic, but eventually they found out it was actually Quentin Grimes and Maxi Kleber, not Luka Doncic. But they would still make some mistakes. They'd include Maxi Kleber in here and there. Outside of American Airlines Arena, there's a cutout board of him in the music video. And then they had the rapper apologize for it, which makes even less sense because the musician clearly had nothing to do with the way this video was edited. And after that, they just kept trying to leak out why Luka Doncic was traded. I mean, they didn't like the fact that he smoked hookah and drank beer, which, by the way, he smoked hookah in the off season, which is more of a social thing. You know, I don't really know people that have these crazy hookah addictions. I'm personally Middle Eastern. If you want to really get into it, I'm Iranian. Hookah is a huge part of my culture, and even whenever we engage with it, which I haven't in a couple of years because I think it ruins cardio, but even then, that's like a once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every month, whenever people get together type of thing. It's not like he's going home, sparking up a hookah, and just chilling while going on his phone. The only person that really does that is Drake. So the Mavericks keep on trying to give us BS excuses as to why they traded Luka, but if you really did a deep dive in, you'd kind of understand why the Dallas Mavericks are doing what they're doing. You see, this terrible trade is a great way to alienate your fan base, because if I'm a fan of a basketball team and we traded a top 3 star that should yield you at least 7 to 8 NBA draft picks for the future, I'd at least be hopeful for the future. I think it was a ridiculous move because Luka hadn't even turned 26 yet at the time of the trade, but I would at least look forward to the future and say, okay, at least we have like an OKC Thunder-like haul of draft picks for him. But they didn't even get that. And such a trade would alienate a fan base. The Dallas Mavericks lost 800,000 Instagram followers following that. But then they did something else that kind of was an indicator of where this team was headed. They decided to bump up their season ticket prices. So not only did they make the team considerably worse, not only did they go from an NBA Finals contender to a team that could potentially make a deep run in the playoffs if Anthony Davis is healthy, but obviously with Davis's injury and the fact that he might not even get an opportunity to play before the playoffs, morale as a Mavericks fan is at an all-time low. So on top of this, the Dallas Mavericks decided to increase season ticket prices by 8.6%, which, don't get me wrong, it's normal to bump up season ticket prices each and every year, considering that your team is on an upward trajectory, but the timing of this is just insane. I mean, you just traded Luka Doncic for peanuts on the dollar, and now you're bumping up tickets, which makes me think that they're just trying to alienate their fan base. That way they could rationalize a move to Las Vegas. I mean, the Mavericks keep showing how tone deaf they are, whether it's their statement in regards to Luka Doncic not being a Shaquille O'Neal, or probably my favorite quote of all, Nico Harrison no longer wanted Planet Mavericks to orbit around Doncic and had grown determined to trade him by this summer at the latest, which, even if that is the case, and even if that did make sense, fine, you would at least expect him to shop Luka around and not just trade one of the biggest assets in the NBA to the Lakers for peanuts on the dollar, respectfully. But on top of that, that is one of the most bizarre statements I think I've ever heard. You don't want Planet Mavericks to revolve around Luka Doncic? You don't want Planet Mavericks to revolve around one of the most unique talents in the NBA? I mean, Planet Nuggets revolves around Nikola Nikola Jokic. Planet Warriors still revolves around Steph Curry. Planet Grizzlies revolves around John Morant. Planet Timberwolves revolves around Anthony Edwards. Planet Spurs revolves around Victor Wembanyama. I mean, even the best team in the Eastern Conference, Planet Cavaliers, revolves around Donovan Mitchell. Planet Bucks revolves around Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, what kind of statement is this? I can really lose myself if I don't talk about the Luka Doncic trade enough, but things just got way worse for the Dallas Mavericks. You see, I have to give credit where credit's due. Despite how terrible things have been for the Dallas Mavericks, the players are showing up and they're doing their absolute best for this franchise. I mean, they are on a 2-game losing streak. They are on the outside looking in for the play-in. They're currently 32-30. There's a pretty good chance they're going to fall out of the play-in. I think the Suns probably might overtake them. They have a sizable lead over the Suns, but it wouldn't shock me at this point given the news that we just got. Kyrie Irving has been really stepping up as the leader of the Dallas Mavericks, which is beautiful because it's something that the Mavericks clearly need right now and Mavericks fans clearly need right now. Versus Milwaukee, he scored 31 points. Versus the Los Angeles Lakers in Luka's first matchup versus the Mavericks, he dropped 35 points. I mean, it was just truly remarkable what Kyrie Irving has been able to do during these difficult times, but unfortunately, all the wear and tear on Kyrie Irving really caught up to him, and in his last game, he officially suffered a season-ending torn ACL in his left knee. Now, I know that I haven't always seen eye to eye with the way Kyrie Irving behaved, particularly when he was on the Brooklyn Nets. I didn't really agree with the way he went about things, but I really was rooting for him in Dallas. I really appreciated his career resurrection. The fact that he seemed to be a veteran leader for his team. The fact that he seemed to be very much at peace. He wasn't as negative as a human being once he got to Dallas. The fact that he also got very close to winning another NBA championship. And I really feel a lot of empathy for the fact that he just suffered a torn ACL. I mean, to go from a situation where you could potentially win another championship to losing Kyrie Irving for not only the rest of the season, but a huge chunk of next season. And on top of that, this completely alters the landscape of the NBA. I mean, Kyrie Irving has a player option at the end of the 2025-26 season. Originally, I assumed that Kyrie Irving was going to opt out of that player option and potentially hit free agency. Now we have to wait and see how he recovers from this ACL injury. Now, the worst case scenario is you get a Derrick Rose-like regression here, which I don't want to imagine, but Kyrie Irving does revolve around his quickness in order to get to the basket. It's part of the reason why his game is so unique and so awesome. But at the same time, I'm a little optimistic because recently ACL recoveries have been a little easier and players have been able to come back from ACL injuries and play just fine. I mean, Jamal Murray was able to come back and he wasn't affected too badly by it. And I think ACL surgeries have made significant strides recently. But regardless, this is just the latest instance of the Dallas Mavericks situation just getting worse and worse and worse. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this? If you're a Mavericks fan, I have a lot of empathy for you. If you're a Kyrie Irving fan, I have a lot of empathy for you as well. I'm wishing him a speedy recovery. And aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.